Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart, and this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by this week and watching. Hope you guys had a good week last week. This week, we're going to talk about the live-action Cowboy BeBop show on Netflix. Now, here's the caveat. As you can tell by the title, I'm only doing the first 4 episodes because as of this video, that's what I've watched so far. I do have a life, unfortunately, outside of this, so that kind of determines how much TV I can watch. But anyway, I wanted to kind of give my thoughts and impressions on the first 4 episodes, and then next week, once I have watched, because I'm going to have time off for Thanksgiving and stuff, so I'll be able to finish this series and have a complete series review for you guys next week. I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit right now because I'm really, really excited about it. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so just a little caveat. Like I said, I've only watched the first 4 episodes, so a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is just pertaining to those 4 episodes. How I feel about it, how I critique it, how I think about it, whatever. That could change by the time I finish the series, which will be this week. So what I say today could be completely different from what I say for the series overall in next week's video. So just know that I haven't seen the rest of the series yet, so please don't put any spoilers in down below in the comment section, and just understand before you troll me that I am only talking about the first 4 episodes, and I fully understand and realize that my attitudes and opinions could change once I watch the rest of it. So for you, those of you who are keyboard cowboys or trolls out there, just give me another week until I finish it before you get on my case, okay? Anyway, so let's start talking about it. And one of the things that I want to talk about the Cowboy BeBop, and one of the questions that at the very outset was, how are they going to do this show? Is this going to be something brand new? Are these going to be new stories? Are we rehashing the series? What are we doing here? Based on the first 4 episodes, it looks like they're basically redoing the anime series. So basically the story of the anime series is the story of the live action. And that's fine. That's actually pretty good. Now, just for those of you who have not seen the Cowboy BeBop anime, let me just give you a breakdown real quick of what the story, generally speaking, is about, because I really think you should watch the anime as well. Oh, and by the way, sorry for the ambient noise. I live in Baltimore, so we might hear some stuff going on. All right, moving on. So in the anime, there's basically 3 levels to the story. And the first level is the bounty of the week. The whole premise of the Cowboy BeBop is that there are these bounty hunters who call themselves cowboys, and that would be the crew of the BeBop. BeBop is an actual ship, spaceship. And basically, this is in the future, right? The moon, for whatever reasons, shattered and exploded, and it pretty much decimated Earth. So mankind has actually spread out through the solar system. So the BeBop goes from like moon to moon, planet to planet, and there's a lot of, just kind of like really neat world building, terraforming scenes that you see here. But really, it's about bounty hunters. Okay. Now, the first level, like I said, is in 3 levels. And the first level is the bounty of the week. And that is just the story of, at the beginning of the episode, we're identifying who the group is going to go after and how they get it, so how they get the bounty. So that's an enjoyable story that happens. The second level that's happening as that is happening is that we get the backstories of the various characters: Spike, Faye, Ed, Jet, even Ein. Ein is the corgi. And so, so on the first level, it's kind of obvious. They're doing the thing to get the money to keep going, and that is to get the bounties. And as they're doing that, something might happen that might trigger a memory, whatever, and we get some backstory to fill in the main characters. On the third level is the actual story of the entire anime, which is a love triangle between Spike, arguably the main character, Julia, a femme fatale kind of, and Vicious, who is a one-time friend and partner in the Syndicate, a criminal organization that Spike was also a part of. So the series goes in that direction, and by the time you get to the end of the series, the main story arc is pretty much told. It's shown to you and told. And it should be noted that in the anime, that third level, which is important, it's the main story, is only told to you in bits and pieces. And actually, things are not told to you really, but they're shown. Like, for example, you can infer that Julia is still somewhat romantically involved with Vicious. But it's inferred. It's not like someone sits out there and says, hey, they're still going out. It's just, you kind of get the idea of it as it goes along. And the other part of it, and this is important, is that Julia doesn't really show up in the series that much. Like, basically for one full episodes, and then as parts of memories in the rest of the series. Vicious shows up a little bit more often, and that's usually when in direct conflict with Spike, where they both kind of hold back until the very end, which there's a climactic battle upon resolution of the love triangle. So there you get the flavor of the anime. I didn't want to give too much away because you really should watch the anime. And actually, I'll explain why it's really kind of important to watch the anime before you watch this, or after. Anyway, so the live action basically does the same thing. You have the level of they're going after the bounty. As they're going after the bounty, you learn more about the characters. As you learn more about the characters, you learn about the overarching story that's supposed to go over the series, which is the love triangle between Julia, Vicious, and Spike. So here's where things go different. And and as I talk about my criticism of the first 4 episodes, remember, just the first 4 episodes, keep in mind that these are just my thoughts and feelings, and they could change by the time I reach the end. But anyway, here we go. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is the use of CGI color and the color palette for the live action. The color palette is a lot different than the anime, but still serves the same purpose. When you watch the anime, you're like, wow, there are very specific colors that I need to pay attention to. The colors themselves don't really mean anything. It's just to invoke a sort of a noir feel, a nostalgic feel. The live action does the same thing, but because it's live action, the colors come off differently. They're muted. The neons aren't as sharp like you would see in Blade Runner. It's a very, very detective noir, like future detective noir feel to it, and it's supposed to be that way. And so things are supposed to be softer, not necessarily in a softer romantic way, but just in a softer, nostalgic, oh, hey, something bad's about to happen kind of way. And it works. I think it works. So just know that. In terms of action, so when we talk about the martial arts, one of the things that people were complaining about before they actually saw stuff from the series was they said, oh, great, John Cho, he's not a martial artist, so this is going to suck. All right. This is not Iron Fist from Netflix, okay? There is John Cho actually went through training, significant amount of training, not like Finn did for Iron Fist. This is a lot different. As a matter of fact, they pay an homage to Bruce Lee in how they film the action sequences. Here's what I mean. When you watch the actual hand-to-hand combat scenes, you're going to be like, wow, they're kind of moving slow, almost at 3/4 speed, not full speed. That is on purpose. That is a style choice. And the reason is that it goes back to how Bruce Lee had to be filmed on actual film stock. Bruce Lee could move so fast that when you actually filmed him, all you got was a blur of movement, and then people reacting to that blur of movement. The directors and he himself understood that he had to slow down to about 3/4 speed so that the audience could follow the fight, actually follow the blocks, the punches, the kicks, the whole 9 yards. Because otherwise it was just movement that you couldn't really see. So he had to move at 3/4 speed. Reason why this is important is that when you, on stage combat and in combat for movies and television series, you actually have a combat coordinator or choreographer who goes through the movements with you, and then once you get the choreography down, you go through various speeds to make sure that you actually know what you're doing. So you go at quarter speed, you go half speed, 3/4 speed, then you do full speed, and you do that progression. And each time that you complete that progression and the choreographer or fight coordinator is happy with it, then you go on to the next higher speed level. The style here is definitely to show you what the action is. And it's very reminiscent of some of Jackie Chan's stuff, where Jackie Chan kind of moves. He does move fast, but you can see what he's doing, and you're supposed to think as he's doing stuff. Well, that's what they're trying to do here as well. So when John Cho is doing the blocks and he's doing the movements and he's doing the punches, you're supposed to see these things. You're supposed to see them at 3/4 speed. That's my guess. That's my educated guess as to how fast they are going. So if it seems like the action is slowed down, it is, and it's done on purpose, and it's for your enjoyment. I mean, Donnie Yen is great to watch, but even then, how much are you actually seeing? Like, you see the impacts, but how much of Donnie Yen moving do you actually see? And when he does, you do see stuff, you notice that he's moving slower. It's all the same concept. So what I'm saying is that the criticism about the martial arts is not, if your criticism of the martial arts is that they don't know what they're doing, that's incorrect. They know full well what they're doing. They've been fully trained to do it. It's a style choice. If you don't like the style, that's a valid criticism. It's not a valid criticism saying that John Cho didn't train. He did train, and it shows. Okay, so just to put that out there. So one of the big things that I want people to understand about thus far, the first 4 episodes in this, is that clearly the folks at Netflix, clearly the director, clearly the writers said, you know what, we're going to give it the Marvel treatment. And here's what I mean by that. So if you notice in the Marvel movies, they're based on the comic book stories, right? They're based on comic book characters, right? But as you've noticed in MCU, they like to do things, they like to change things up. They like to make things different. You have the basic structure of the storyline, but then they flesh it out differently, right? So for those of us who like to see, oh, how are they going to do it this way, and how different is going to be from the comic books, and actually enjoy those differences, if you like that, that's the kind of person you are when you watch MCU movies, you're going to like Cowboy BeBop. Because it's the basic framework is there. It's just how they flesh it out is going to be different, and how they do it is going to be different. And to me, it works. Okay. And this is where I say that you kind of have to watch the anime. A good question that was asked of me a few days ago was, if someone was new to the Cowboy BeBop franchise, would you have them watch the anime first or the live action first? And my response was, have them watch the anime first. And the reason is that unlike Villeneuve's Dune, where you can walk in without knowing anything about the book, anything about the previous movies and television series, you can walk into this and it's fully accessible and you can enjoy it for what it is. This series is a love letter, as someone else put it, a love letter to the anime. It helps to watch anime. Could you watch this without watching the anime? Yes. And you're going to fully realize that you are missing a lot of stuff, because there are a crap ton of Easter eggs in this series. Just 4 episodes in, and it's just like, I know I missed a few. But they fill in some of the gaps that helps you move the story along. I think you could probably watch the live action first and then watch the anime to fill in those gaps if you wanted to, but I think you should probably watch the anime first. So if your criticism is that, and I've seen this in some of the actual critique sites where they're just like, it just seems like they're like, I don't get it. Well, it means that they probably didn't watch the anime that closely, if at all. And I don't agree with those criticisms, because if you're going to watch one, you probably should watch the other. So there's that. If you're a fanboy and you love Cowboy BeBop, like I do, but you're the type of person that goes, it has to be this way, it has to be all episodes, and it has to be this way, and everything has to be the same as the anime. If that's how you are going to approach this, you are going to be massively disappointed. You are not going to like this, okay? And I don't understand that approach to things that when they do a reboot or they do a live action, you have to understand that things are going to be different. You have to. There's just no way. Like, for example, I dedicated an episode on this channel talking about the fact that they didn't do Faye's costume from the anime because, honestly, you can't. And have her do the movements that she does in the live action. It just doesn't work. Like, functionally, it just can't work. It doesn't work. Like I said before in that episode, I've worked in theater, so I know costume designers, and they take one look at it and they start laughing. They're like, how is anyone supposed to do anything in that outfit? You can't. You literally can't. So that's what I mean, is that there are things that are going to be different, and you just have to accept those differences. So just some details to throw there out at you. So when you get into the character stories, largely speaking, they're the same as they are in the anime. Faye has amnesia. She doesn't have memories of what her life was like prior to being put into cryostasis. And that's a whole story arc right there. Of course, you have Spike, who in the live action had gone by the name of Fearless when he was with the Syndicate. And you're starting to learn his backstory, which is connected to the overall backstory of him, Julia, and Vicious. You get also an interesting, different backstory for Jet. In the anime, we have an episode dedicated to Jet's ex-girlfriend. And he visits her in trying to get a tip on a bounty. Don't want to spoil the episode for you, but she's involved. And there's this whole thing where they kind of go through their life together. And, they both know it's over and it's done, and, they're trying to move on. In the live action, turns out Jen was actually married. The ex-girlfriend is his ex-wife. He has a kid. The first 4 episodes is him grousing about not being able to make enough money to buy the perfect birthday gift for his kid that he's about to see. And so, you have that. And you get one of the best episodes in the anime, which is Black Dog Serenade. You actually meet Jet's former partner in the first episode. Right? So there's a lot of difference there. The other huge difference, and leads into probably what my one biggest complaint thus far in the 4 episodes I've watched, is actually the fact that there is a lot more of Julia and Vicious. In the anime, Julia really only appears in 1 episode. The rest of it, she comes in as like snatches of memories, maybe a glimpse. She's referred to a lot. Spike remembers her in a certain way, and that's all you get for the majority of the series. Vicious, it comes up a little bit more often, and he's in direct confrontation with Spike in a handful of episodes, and you see him along his story arc, which is in the anime, he's chafing under the leadership of the Syndicate, and he's plotting to take them over. And in this, like I said before, it's inferred that he and Julia are still something of an item. In the live action series, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but in case, spoiler alert, you get a lot of Vicious and Julia. Julia is actually married to Vicious in the series. You see them together. Vicious is still chafing under the leadership of the Syndicate, but this time it's not just him wanting to run the whole organization. He actually has a reason to do this, which is to try. He says to protect Julia, but we're not sure about that. But there's definitely a power, but like a hunger for power. But he also wants to protect Julia, and that's actually why Julia is with him, because he is her best bet to be protected from the rest of the Syndicate. So he is starting to put his machinations together, and it turns out that Julia is the one who actually is kind of the brains of the two and is actually guiding him like Lady Macbeth into, this final confrontation with the Syndicate. When Vicious learns that Spike is alive, that Fearless is still alive, then he has to contend with that as well in the live action series. So you actually see them. They are part of the story. It's not just this third level, which kind of pokes its head down in from time to time and says, hey, remember this? It's there. It's in your face. It's constant. My big criticism of this is that I don't think the characters were well cast. The actors who play Vicious and Julia are not bad actors. I want to throw that out there. They are not bad actors. In what they have done before, they are quite good. It's just that sometimes good actors don't fit certain roles. And I think that's what happened here. And so the guy who plays Vicious, you're kind of like, oh, he's not quite like the guy. It's not quite there, His evilness, his deadness, inside. That the only thing in the anime that is keeping him alive is Julia. Spiritually speaking. You don't get this. You don't get that. It's more, and it's not buffoonish, but it's in that direction. Julia is, in anime, you get a feeling of someone who is capable of handling herself, who knows her way around a gun, and is not helpless. In this, she plays the trope of the former song mistress on the stage who gets enamored by the bad boy gangster, and that story goes on. That's what they have her doing right now. And she plays a more helpless character where she's physically more helpless than she is in the anime. So that's my one big bone of contention. And if you as a critic don't like that dynamic, I can understand why that is. So at the end of this, what am I saying to you? Based on the first 4 episodes, should you watch this? Heck yeah, go for it. I all the negative criticisms that are out there right now, I don't get it. I don't really see it. Maybe when I watch the rest of the series, I'll be like, okay, I get what they're saying now. But until I do that right now, the first 4 episodes, pretty rocking. I like it. Oh, speaking of rocking, soundtrack is a beautiful, wonderful meld of old Cowboy BeBop OST1 stuff and from other parts of the musical franchise of Cowboy BeBop with some new stuff thrown in. And how they do it is wonderful. Like, the old stuff is usually like Spike is listening to headphones, so you kind of hear it through his headphones, or it's maybe some radio is playing something, the old stuff somewhere, and then when you get the more live action scenes, or the scenes where the action is happening, you get more of the new music coming in. Oh, and one last thing that I wanted to point out that is very much different, even though he's not fleshed out just yet, she, is the introduction of the character Grimm. For those of you who have not seen anime, that's not going to mean anything to you. For those of you who know the anime, Jupiter Jazz is a huge plot point. So it's really weird to see Grimm show up in the first 4 episodes. Like, he just shows up. He's there. Boom. Done. Right? So it'll be interesting to see how that particular character plays out. So yeah, watch the first 4 episodes definitely. If you haven't watched the live action, you haven't watched the anime, I strongly urge you to watch the anime first. You don't have to, but it will help you. And my goodness, the Easter eggs in all of this. My God, all the Easter eggs. Oh my God. So anyway, as you can tell, I'm enthusiastic. I'm positive. This is not the Netflix Death Note that I got years ago, and I'm happy for that. So, okay, next week I'll have a better comprehensive review of the whole thing, and so have a good Thanksgiving. Remember to social distance. Remember to wear your mask so we can get around COVID-19 and we can see each other in person at conventions. Again, have a great Thanksgiving.